Professor Fountain, my name is Gordon Fulks. I'm an astrophysicist. I have some problem with some of the data that you're using here, especially the fill mote data, which relates to a particular snowpack, which you rightly say dates from 1950. You didn't mention when it ended, which was the year 2000. And the problem is that's been trimmed at both ends. The data goes back, I believe, into the 1930s, and it certainly goes forward to the present day. If you look at the entire data set, it doesn't show any trend. If you look at the data set that dates from the 1950s, which is a high snow period, it does go down 40%. But you can't trim data just to show one trend over a particular period of time. Remember the Great Pacific Climate Shift in 1977, the warm period that we've been in. It looks like it's ending now. We certainly have had much more snow recently. So the way you set up this problem bothers me, and particularly the use of motes data. You also use other data, things that I'm familiar with, for instance, Mount Hood. I've climbed Mount Hood many times. I know the glaciers have retreated. I haven't climbed it recently. I don't know whether they have expanded or not. But I climbed Mount Shasta about 1970, and I remember I got extremely sunburned because I wasn't paying attention to all of the snow and ice that was there. If I climbed it today, what I would notice is it's a much different mountain. The glaciers have increased very greatly there. And that's something you need to mention if you're just working with anecdotal data. You also talk about glacier loss since 1900. That fits in very nicely with Michael Mann and the others. But the glacier loss, in fact, if you look at old photographs and whatever, started with the end of the Little Ice Age when the Greenland ice core records started to turn up in the temperature, about 1830. After the Maunder minimum, Dalton minimum, and as the solar activity picked up, the temperatures increased at that point. And also, incidentally, many of these pictures of glaciers, if you look at the picture in after the Dust Bowl era of the 1930s, you'd see that much of the retreat was up until that point, not in the modern period. So you need to mention that. You also, in talking about sea level, you mentioned one person. You missed the Swedish scientist Nils Horner, who has studied this for a great period of time, and says that sea level, in fact, for the last several decades, hasn't changed very much. The ranges go from a tiny amount up to the maximum that is shown with this satellite record, but the satellite record has been adjusted to match Mars. Is that fair? That's certainly what we do in astrophysics. Data is supreme and data is not trend. That's what we're going to say about that.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarification. Okay, thank you.